Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting this evening's show. Out to the west, next front here, pushing eastward yesterday, pushing to the central Aleutians and weakening, minimum gales associated with it right out in the narrow band in advance of the front. And showers following in behind, light winds, clouds over the eastern Bering Sea, kind of chilly out there yet yesterday. And that pattern extending northward there into the Chukchi Sea. And a band of moisture here from northeast, eastern Brooks Range area, Arctic Village, right on down into the deltas, and kind of breaks up here off the coast with some light snow in that area. And then some clouds here, Kodiak Island, the Aleutian Range, northeast Bristol Bay. And also clouds sliding northwestward there along the southeast coast, bringing in general area of rain, but pretty good conditions over the interior, south of this boundary, and then north, colder conditions and dry all the way out to the Arctic coast. For today, picked up some moisture up here along the Arctic coast, a band right through here, trailing back into the central areas and bringing flurries and clouds with it in that area. Winds coming down, still a little breezy up there on the east side of the Beaufort Sea coastline, but not too bad with some sunshine breaking out just about all the way out to the coastline and southward. Then you pick up some clouds there in the White Mountains into the Tanana Valley with this area clouds pushing northeastward. And that extended down across just about all of southern Alaska right into Bristol Bay here, and then down across Kodiak Island. There were a few showers around, but nothing particularly heavy, and still had some showers traveling northwestward in the southeast flow from the Gulf there in along the North Gulf Coast, but nothing too heavy. And this system sliding northwest, the main low center pretty weak, and actually another one developing right there. And that's just grazing the coastal areas with a little light rain at times, maybe a little more extensive across Prince of Wales Island, but most of that staying off the coast as it pushes northwestward, and definitely thinner clouds as you get over toward the borders, then breaking out into some sunshine here from Dawson down to Whitehorse onto the southeast, and a lot of clearing here over the Gulf of Alaska and out over the western Bering Sea, some clearing there. That front really weakening, just dragging across the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutian areas. A little bit of snow working up toward the Pribilof Islands this afternoon. Still kind of a cold air mass locked in over the Bering Sea there, but southeast winds now breaking into the Pribilof Islands, and that's signifying a trend that's going to continue and increase with stronger southerly winds coming into the Bering Sea throughout the upcoming week. That due to the next storm that's just coming onto the picture there, still southwest of Shemya. And on the chart today, here's that first front, really weak across the southern Bering Sea, back down across the Alaska Peninsula. Small craft advisories with it, and that's about it. They're southeast turning easterly, staying south of the Pribilof, so they're picking up a southeast wind this afternoon. Otherwise, up to the north, cold upper low, kind of tracked southwestward from the Brooks Range yesterday into about the Seward Peninsula, so kind of an extensive area of cloudiness and areas of light snow or snow showers with that up into the northwest interior, and then that other band there, which is associated with the same feature here along the central Arctic coast back to the northwest. That may extend down a little bit farther into the north slope there, but definitely not south of the Brooks Range. Still some clouds, picking up some breaks here, a little more convective in nature of the air mass here over the southeast interior, but just some scattered rain and snow showers associated with it. And this front here, most of the precipitation along and in back of that, back or along the front here to the west, and not much just except for the coast there, catching the southern southeast coast, Prince of Wales Island, and looks like some clearing farther up to the north, clearing southern Prince William Sound, the Gulf of Alaska. A weak trough here, kicked off a few showers around the Kodiak Island area. And that same pattern, scattered showers, mostly cloudy skies there for the southern Kenai Peninsula on up into areas of Prince William Sound. And for tonight, that system remains off the coast there, and most of the precipitation will be along and back to the west, just kind of kissing the coastline there with a little bit of light rain at times. Wind's not a problem at all. Mostly cloudy, becoming partly cloudy over toward the border tonight, and pretty good in the Yukon in western British Columbia with the rain from the Queen Charlottes. Again, some of that moisture will slide up, could catch Yakutat with a mixture of precipitation to Cape Yakataga, maybe Cordova. Prince William Sound, though, looks pretty dry, as well as the Copper River Basin. Isolated showers, light showers along the Alaska Range, and maybe up here in the Eagle area. Otherwise, light winds and variably cloudy skies to mostly clear eastern Brooks Range into the upper Yukon, maybe the Koyukuk Valley areas. Mostly cloudy here south of the Alaska Range. Scattered showers down again across the Kenai Peninsula into Kachemak Bay toward Iliamna and Kodiak Island. Just a chance. This weak front pushing now south of the island there, and the southeast wind's not all that strong at all coming in with that. It's really a weak feature now. Upper level system reflected by a 1,008 millibar low at the surface here, just north of the Bering Strait. So this whole area will be mostly cloudy with areas of light snow and snow showers at times, but winds will be light, trough extending southward, not quite making it to the Pribilofs there, kind of breaking out as this thing dissipates. The Bering Sea part of the front will dissipate, and this portion will slide off to the southeast and keep a chance of moisture here for the Alaska Peninsula, but nothing heavy. Partly clear skies here from Nikolsky, maybe in Alaska eventually, to mostly clear for Adak and Atka with light winds and pretty good conditions here over the Bering Sea in advance of the next storm, just edging on to the chart there. Winds becoming southeast, increasing late tonight, and then by tomorrow afternoon, 4 p.m., that front right along the western areas there, 40 to 45 knot winds associated with that, gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour, pushing eastward with rain to Adak in the afternoon, increasing the winds, but staying dry for Atka. And light winds, light winds, call it mostly cloudy. Could be some sunshine here on Alaska Nikolsky, maybe Atka, but well, as well as the Pribilofs on up into the north there, but probably a lot of clouds in here as well, but precipitation free. Light winds again for one more day, and still a very weak trough extending from this center now, pulling back to the northwest. Still a band of snow there along the northwest coast from Point Hope, Cape Lisburn to Kivalina, right on down to Kotzebue and possibly Buckland and Deering. Anything south or northeast Norton Sound, there will be just some flurries, basically clouds, isolated snow showers and flurries on down to the Alaska Range. Look for some clearing there for Kodiak Island, drying out a little bit there. This front still down to the south, really weak now, sliding off to the east, but still some moisture caught up in a southeast wind flow. Keep a chance of showers going there. Along the Alaska Peninsula, mostly from roughly, call that Falls Pass, on up to possibly Chignik. And another weak trough here along the North Gulf Coast with this low circulating around, but only 20 knot winds in the marine forecast now instead of 25 that was in there yesterday for today or for tomorrow. And a chance of rain or snow showers along the coast. You see very weak feature now down along the southeast coast there, just a risk of some showers. Light winds and partly sunny over the inside water areas and basically dry. And taking a look at Thursday, or Tuesday, strong high pressure builds in over the interior areas up to 1,031 millibars. Have some leftover moisture here. Be a little more clearing than what's shown in here, and just some isolated showers around the mountainous terrain in the afternoon. Chugach Mountains, for example, maybe the North Gulf Coast. So partly to mostly cloudy skies, basically dry. Lots of sunshine here in the west down to Kodiak Island. Risk of some showers there on the south side of the island with some leftover moisture down in that area. But I think from the state airport across Fognak Island, sunny skies in the afternoon. Arctic coast mostly dry. Definitely lighter winds now, about 10 knots, so really coming down. But got some flurries there, mostly off the coast. Any one of those could graze the coastline, bring the flying conditions lower, visibilities a little bit there for some marginal stuff. Same thing here along the northwest coast, and that's about it. Isolated showers, I mentioned, along the North Gulf Coast. Big storm out to the west now, 978 millibar low, driving up into the far western Aleutians. Front pushing northward and eastward. Strong south to north flow here ahead of that front. So that's going to start to drive the ice edge back to the north there from the Perlofs with some pretty strong gale force southerly winds coming in, or southeast winds anyway there, and that'll be advancing on up towards St. Lawrence Island probably Tuesday evening. And looks like gale force winds, definitely a big increase in the wind here for the eastern Aleutians during the afternoon, spreading in toward the Alaska Peninsula. Just mostly cloudy and showers, a gradual increase in the winds there during the late afternoon hours. But it looks like this pattern will hold through much of the week with all the storminess out to the west, high pressure in over the interior. So looking pretty good for the upcoming week. And for the temperatures today, mid-40s to lower 50s here across the Panhandle. Stewart up to 55, 45 there at Elfin Cove and Sitka. Same thing at Yakutat. Cordova, 38 degrees today. 40s south central Alaska. Talkeetna up to 46, one of the warmer locations. 42 at Gulkana. Mid-40s there in the Tanana Valley. Eagle down to 34. Same thing at Tanana, and about 33 up at Fort Yukon. Bettles 36 above. Back down to 19, right around 20 here for the Berks Range, Arctic Village, and Anatuvik. Teens on the Arctic coast from 15 over at Kaktovik to 9 degrees at Point Lay. Mid to upper 20s here along the northwest coast. Kind of a variation here. 7 degrees out at Tin City and 19 at Buckland, 18 at Nome, and a nice 40-degree reading there at McGrath with a range there. Still a 41-degree reading at Sleepmute, and then down to 32 at Bethel, 18 at Savunga, 29, I believe that says there at Macoriac. And for the Perlofs, 30 degrees at St. Paul, but St. George up to 34, responding to that southeast wind coming above freezing. 40 degrees out in Alaska, 45 at Atka, and 30s here for the Alaska Peninsula, mid to upper 30s, right on up to King Salmon, then jumps up to 46 degrees, near 40 for Kodiak Island. Lows for tonight, back down below zero, mostly on the north slope there, away from the coastline. Milder 20s here over the western interior to lower 30s Bristol Bay. Lower to mid-30s for the Alaska Peninsula and 30s for the Panhandle. Teens, Copper River Basin, single numbers up to the north. Highs for tomorrow, back into the mid to maybe upper 40s here at Tanana Valley. Kuskokwim Valley, same thing. Susitna Valley pushing 50 degrees and upper 40s, lower 50s for the southeast coast. Flying weather tomorrow morning, look for a band of IFR St. Lawrence Island southward along the coast there, right across Nunivak Island, hooking back into Togiak Bay there and up in toward the mountains, and some lingering stuff mostly on the eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range. Otherwise pretty good VFR, Gulf of Alaska, right on up across the Brooks Range, and you hit the IFR on the eastern Arctic coast. Tomorrow afternoon, that spot IFR goes marginal by the afternoon. Yakutat up across the Wrangels, areas of marginal VFR along the coastline there, down across Kodiak Island. IFR here edging in toward the southeast Bering Sea. Marginal northward there to almost Point Lay. IFR eastern Arctic coast, and more IFR with the next front coming into the western Aleutians. Passes Anatuvik and Adigan, both VFR throughout the day tomorrow. And Lake Clark and Merrill, though, marginal VFR, especially on both eastern entrances. But rainy, starting out marginal, trending toward VFR throughout the afternoon. Windy, though, VFR the entire day. And for Isabel and Mentasta, both VFR. And Tonita, VFR. Portage, VFR, and maybe possibly some moisture sliding west-northwest up into the eastern entrance. Could go marginal tomorrow afternoon around midday or late morning, and maybe not. So for Chilkoot and White, an easier forecast there, VFR. For the freezing levels, kind of coming up here out in the Bering Sea to near the Perlofs, but still back down south of the Alaska Peninsula, hugging the coastline, kind of getting north of the Panhandle there with 2,000 feet sneaking up toward Heidelberg, or Hyder. Yeah, Heidelberg, P-A-H-Y, whichever that one is down there. But look for some icing, Craig, Kloak, and Prince of Wales Island. Dry to the north, patch icing possible here along the North Gulf Coast. Otherwise, pretty icing free through the interior, and just a possibility here. Most of this will be off to the south, but it'll be kind of coming up and just touching the peninsula there. And then a more widespread area coming eastward with the next frontal system, light to isolated moderate rime icing above 6,000. And looking at the jet stream here, kind of a ridge popping up over the Aleutians. Trough to the west, trough to the east here, a little bit of a ridge through here, and a sharp trough right off the southeast coast. Southeast winds 30 to 50 knots. But this area of high pressure here is going to develop over the interior over the next couple of days and hold through next week. For 9,000 feet, real light wind flow over the interior. Tomorrow, almost high pressure at this elevation over southern Alaska. Weak low off the coast, 20-knot winds, 30 to 35, cutting across southern Kodiak Island to the peninsula. Light winds maybe up to 25, and then 30 to 50-knot winds with the next big storm coming into the far western Aleutians and Bering Sea. That same pattern, 3,000 feet, 30 knots by the afternoon for AKwx, 30 to 50 on out to the west-northwest. Light winds over the interior, maybe 15 to 20 for the Arctic coast, so that definitely a lot lighter than it has been, with maybe, we got 20-knot winds here in the Gulf of Alaska, light winds for the Panhandle. Turbulence, light to isolated moderate chop, Sitkinak, over toward the Aleutian Range, Bristol Bay, and then down to maybe Nelson Lagoon, smoother back to the west, smooth over the interior and the Panhandle. Next front, increasing winds, occasional moderate chop, spreading eastward toward Atka in the afternoon. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
This is the Napa Valley, home to America's most prestigious wine growers. Vintners here produce the fine Chardonnays, Pinot Noirs, and Cabernet Sauvignons that have helped put the California wine industry on the international map. But lurking beneath the surface of these green fields are tiny parasites called phylloxera that threaten the very roots of a $6 billion industry. Entomologist Jeff Granette.
The place where it's feeding is a wounded area, and fungus or bacteria can get into that and cause an infection, which will eventually kill that portion of the root.
Infrared aerial photography taken over a 5-year period reveals phylloxera's devastating effects. Dead areas show up gray. Imagery like this helps farmers see current damage, but it doesn't provide enough information for future planning. Growers need better tools.
So there's where comes NASA, because the very sophisticated technology, remote sensing, allows the detection of stress before we can ever see it with the naked eye. And that gives us a glimpse into the future so that we can do a better job of planning for the eventuality of the loss of those vines.
Phil Freeze manages the Phylloxera project for Robert Mondavi Winery.
Bob Mondavi has always thought to the future. In this case, we looked up into the sky. We looked for the technology. We looked beyond the horizon.
They look to space. NASA scientists at nearby Ames Research Center have been developing remote sensing technology to study the Earth's surface using aircraft and satellites.
For the last 10 years, NASA has been trying to get remote sensing into more commercial uses, to develop more industry partnerships.
NASA's Joan Salute heads the GRAPES project. Her team includes participants from Ames, Mondavi Winery, and California's Davis and Chico universities.
We called up about 4 wineries last fall and met with about 4 different groups and explained to them what we wanted to try to do. And Mondavi was the one who said, "We're your guys. We want to do that same thing." This is where all the phylloxera is. 1, 2, and 3 have visual signs, and it's in the ground. 4, 5, and 6 have no visual signs on the leaves, but it is in the ground. And 7, 8, and 9 are totally healthy, and there's nothing in the ground.
An 11-acre test site is blocked into sections with healthy, moderate, and severely infested vines. Handheld instruments are used to measure chlorophyll levels, which are a barometer of the plant's health.
Right now, if you look at a leaf from any of those 3 categories, they look the same to our eyes. But we're going to take them back into the lab at Ames and do spectral analysis and also chemical analysis to see how those leaves differ.
The second sample for blood sticks. Okay.
Field and laboratory data provides a baseline for each level of infestation. Scientists estimate chlorophyll levels and use an airborne scanner to gather information on thousands of plants. Like infrared photos, the resulting images indicate where the vines are dying. But the images can also warn growers of where the bugs are just beginning their attack.
The phylloxera pattern seems to be going kind of in a north-south direction. The resolution is so much better. The contrast, the ability to see the areas that are already affected by phylloxera just jump out at you even more so.
Monitoring infestation is one thing, but doing something about it is another.
We don't have any chemical agents that will cure our problem and prevent phylloxera in Napa Valley.
Fortunately, nurseries are growing roots which are resistant to phylloxera. Many of the popular grape plants like Chardonnay or Pinot Noir would easily fall prey to the underground pest if they were grown on their own roots. Vintners get around this problem by having nurseries graft or splice resistant stalks to the fruit-bearing portion of the plant.
What we've chosen to do here at Robert Mondavi Vineyards is to remove those vines that are affected with phylloxera, go back in and replant these new rootstocks that are tolerant to any phylloxera that might be in the soil.
The cost of replanting at Mondavi Vineyards alone could run to $20 million. That's why it's so critical that vintners know where and when phylloxera will strike before replanting.
Rather than having a feeling that it's really spreading, we'll be able to say, look, it spread 30% over this past year in this direction.
The NASA partnership with Mondavi and universities at Davis and Chico is working very well. In fact, they could have used the digital images sooner.
The Mondavi team members were looking at the imagery. They said, we made a decision to rip out half this field. From looking at this imagery, we should have ripped out 3/4 of it because part of what we left is useless. And if they had gone ahead and ripped out more of the field and replanted sooner, they'd have a crop a lot sooner.
This new technology will have a long-term impact far beyond Mondavi Vineyards. The results of this 3-year NASA project will be shared with wine growers throughout the state.
We'll get this information developed and then take it out and let everyone else use it. Because no one survives in this industry alone. We all survive together.
Improved field management developed from the NASA research efforts may also improve wine quality and taste, satisfying worldwide demand.
Welcome back. Sea ice analysis. Still some 4 to 6/10 ice near and south of St. George Island, but Bristol Bay actually looks like the new analysis didn't update. There's a lot less ice through here today than what's shown here, but still about the same around the Pribilofs, so maybe oriented a little bit different here. But with the upcoming week, when those winds go southerly, it's going to advance northward quite rapidly and probably will be gone for the season. On to the marine forecasts. Variable set west to southeast as you go up the coastline, just 10 to 15 knots, 10 to 15 knot variable winds over the inside waters. And for Tuesday, northwest, 20 knots along the south coast, dropping back and turning west on the north coast about 15. North 15, Lynn Canal, Stevens Passage, west 15 for Clarence Strait. Prince William Sound, Cook Inlet, northeast at 10, east 20 here, turning northeast for the western North Gulf Coast. On down across Kodiak Island, 25 knot winds here down towards Sitkinak on the south end of the island, otherwise light up to the north. And for Tuesday, really light winds, variable for Shelikof Strait, north 10 on the east side of the island, north to northwest 15 from Kachemak Bay across the Barrens, light variable winds, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound and Cook Inlet. For Monday, this is tomorrow's forecast for the Alaska Peninsula, easterlies 15 to northeast or 25 knots, small craft advisories from Sitkinak to Cape Sarachev, and then much lighter winds here on the Bering Sea side, northeast 15, picking up to about 20 for Bristol Bay. And then for Tuesday, east 15 for Bristol Bay, small craft advisories here on the north side of the peninsula, otherwise northeast 15 towards Sitkinak. The Aleutians, light winds for the eastern Aleutians, gradually picking up here for 40 to 45 knot winds. The next front advancing eastward, coming up toward gale force late in the afternoon for the central Aleutians. And for Tuesday, the low center pulling eastward, northerlies at 30 knots coming into Shimmy and Attu, south 40 east of Amchitka Island to Adak, and then 40 to 45 knot winds. Actually, gales all the way across Unalaska Island, turning more southeast out that way. And then for the southwest coast, 5 to 15 knots, east-northeast, north 10, light winds to St. Matthew Island, east 15 for the Pribilofs. And then gales come back into the picture here, increasing to 35 knots for the St. Paul-St. George area. A shade stronger here, a full gale at 40 for St. Matthew Island, especially west of the island there. Otherwise, brisk winds, small craft advisories here along the southwest coast. East 20 for St. Lawrence Island. Up along the Arctic coast on the east side, 20 knot winds, continuing that downward trend, 15 to 20 for the central coast eastward, southeast 15 from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, and then south of there, more of a southerly wind, but light. And for Tuesday, south, 10 to 15 knots here, up to Cape Beaufort, and pretty light winds on the west side. Easterlies now from the central coast to demarcation point, down to 15 knots. And for tonight, again, very weak system. All the rain here sliding northwestward, just grazing the coastline. Some of that will get into the Yakutat, maybe as far west as Cordova. Otherwise, scattered showers down south. Isolated snow showers over the mountains, but a little bit more widespread up here to the northwest with an upper level low. Really weak front, nothing significant with that. The next storm coming into the west, and that'll bring gales into the western Aleutian southwest Bering tomorrow, advancing eastward. Fair conditions over the Bering Sea, weak trough snow showers, weak trough rain and snow showers, high pressure developing over the interior, which on Tuesday really strengthens. Upper ridge builds in, 1,031 millibars, big storm out to the west, full gales for the eastern Aleutians into the Bering Sea.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.